Call to order the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, March 3rd to order. Please rise as you're able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. And at this time, I will recognize our administrative team to give the meeting procedures and to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the members of the board, staff, and public for joining us this evening for the March 3rd, 2026 Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors regular meeting. This meeting has been properly advertised in accordance with the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act as a hybrid meeting with the option to attend virtually and in person here in the main meeting room. If you are in attendance and wish to speak on behalf of an agenda item, please state your name, municipality of residence, and the topic you wish to speak on when the chair calls on you. If you are attending in person with us in the main reading room and wish to speak on behalf of an agenda item, please address the board from the podium to ensure all audio is captured. Also, as a reminder, assisted listening devices are available to the public within the main meeting room. Please see a staff member for more information. Members of the public attending using the WebEx platform are asked to remain muted during the meeting to prevent any ambient noise from disrupting the meeting. If a member of the public is acknowledged by the chair, they may unmute their microphone for their question or comment. Secondly, board members are asked to indicate their name when motioning or seconding a motion so that the minutes may accurately reflect the action taken. Finally, a roll call of the Board of Supervisors will now be taken to ensure that all members can hear and interact using the WebEx meeting platform. Please indicate you are here when your name is called. Chair Thompson.
Here.
Vice Chair Patterson.
Here.
Ms. Stevens.
I'm here.
Mr. Heller. Here. Mr. White. Here. You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. So the Board of Supervisors did meet in an executive session regarding legal matters on February 24th. I will also share Supervisors White, Patterson, and I attended the Solar Power Purchasing Center County Solar Group meeting on the 27th for informational only. There was some information shared there. And then also I meant to share last month, currently the township audit is underway, and as a part of a procedure with our audit, the chair is just asked to given the opportunity to ask any questions or provide any information, but also to report whether or not there's any, they're aware of any like fraud or anything like that. And I was pleased to report I am not aware of anything. And we'll just, our audit team's been working hard, and hopefully we'll get that audit wrapped up here in the coming months. So just wanted to provide that information. Continuing on with our announcements and proclamations, there was an agenda amendment on the conditional use public hearing that has been postponed to a future date. If you were here to speak about that item this evening, you'll still have the opportunity during public comment, but it is not on tonight's agenda. Before I proceed any further, was there any board members that had any other agenda items to amend or bring forward? Okay.
Yes, sir. I have a hard time raising my hand. Thank you.
That's okay.
Yes, there's an event March 11th for Pennsylvania Municipal League, and just wanted to, if we could add that alignment on kind of the legislative priorities for that meeting to the end of this meeting, time permitting. I'm totally fine if the meeting's running too long and we need to save it, but would love to spend a few minutes on it at the end of this meeting. Over.
Mr. Patterson, how about I put that in calendar items?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Nothing further. Well, next up will be a proclamation in the Township of Ferguson, Center County, Pennsylvania to recognize the month-long celebration of Ramadan and the concluding celebration of Eid al-Fitr. And I will recognize Supervisor White. Did you want to cover copy?
Sure.
Supervisor White will read the proclamation.
Starting with the first line?
Yep.
Okay. Whereas Ramadan is a holy month observed by Muslims in State College, the U.S., and around the world, marked by fasting, prayer, reflection, and communal gathering. And whereas Ramadan holds a profound significance worldwide for individuals from various backgrounds and cultures, united in the spirit of devotion and service to others. And whereas during Ramadan, Muslims abstain from food, drink, and other physical needs from dawn to sunset to foster self-discipline, spiritual growth, and empathy for those less fortunate, while deepening their connection with their faith. And whereas at sunset, the breaking of the fast, or iftar, becomes a cherished communal event that transcends boundaries of ethnicity, nationality, and creed, with families, friends, and neighbors gathering to share in the blessings of sustenance and fellowship. And whereas the diversity of our city enriches our collective experience, and the celebration of Ramadan serves as an opportunity to honor and respect the traditions of our Muslim residents and neighbors. And whereas the end of Ramadan is marked by the holiday of Eid al-Fitr, a joyous occasion marked by gatherings of family, friends, and neighbors to celebrate, pray together, exchange good tidings, and gifts. Now, therefore, the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors does hereby recognize the month of Ramadan as a time of reflection, unity, and celebration in our township and throughout central Pennsylvania. Ramadan will mark its conclusion by celebrating Eid al-Fitr, proclaimed this third day of March, 2026.
All right, and can we have a motion to adopt the proclamation?
This is Matt, so moved.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Zamari, second.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Heller, second by Mr. Patterson. I was going to say, provide an opportunity. I believe we may even have some representatives here and others within the Muslim community tonight if they wanted to provide some remarks. Just ask you to step forward to the podium, just state your name and neighborhood of residence. Seeing anyone in the room?
If I should state my name?
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Wael Jaber. I'm a resident of Ferguson Township. And I was happily surprised to hear when Jeremy told me about this proclamation. I guess it's a joyous time to hear that Ramadan. I would like to thank you all. Lovely proclamation. It'll be great if you can read it again tomorrow when we have dinner together. And I guess for us now it's time because iftar is 6:05. So we're going to rush and have dinner. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
All right. Yes, thank you for attending. Anyone else in the room or online? Did any of the board members have any remarks? Yes, Mr. Heller.
I would just like to wish everybody listening tonight and our residents truly Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. Welcome. Thank you for coming
Yes,
tonight.
thank you. Now, I'll be delighted to present the proclamation to your group tomorrow evening as well. Got the opportunity to share in the celebrations last year and looking forward to it again. So thank you for inviting me and others. Anyone else? Okay. If no one else, all those in favor of adopting the proclamation say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. All right. Proclamation is adopted there, and we'll present you a copy tomorrow evening there. Yep. All right. Next, we'll start with public comment for any items that are not on the agenda. So at this time, if anyone from the public had anything that was not on the agenda, again, just come forward, state your name and neighborhood of residence, and we'll start with.
The first thing is I wanted to thank Ferguson's staff for replacing my street light on Bud Street. I think they did, so I thought I'd start with a thank you. And if you didn't, get to it. Secondly, I'd like to comment on Ramadan. I was introduced to it in 2018 when I was in Africa with my friend Abu in Guinea. And it's a hard holiday. It's difficult, and I really respect it. It's terrific. And even people without very much find some way to share with people with even less. So it's a wonderful holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glebe. Question, if the light was fixed, but if we didn't fix it, what do you mean get to it? It's been fixed, right?
I have to admit, I haven't noticed yet.
You didn't notice yet, okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Glebe, and I'm sure we can take a note of that just to double check it's okay.
Somebody go unplug the light.
Like the light. Next we'll go to online. Anyone had any public comments? If none, we'll go back to the room. Okay, seeing no more public comments, so next will be the approval of the minutes pending no corrections. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 17th meeting.
This is Trevor, so moved.
Okay, we had a motion by Mr. White. Do we have a second?
This is Matt, I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. White, second by Mr. Heller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Okay, we got it. Next up will be our reports and presentations, our diversity, equity, and inclusionary activities and acknowledgements. Women's History Month is in March. Got to say, had a lot of, if you were following the Olympics, had a lot of good success and wins from many women on the Olympic team. As a matter of fact, the USA women's hockey team getting gold. One of the players of which is a Penn State student on our women's hockey team that's currently in the top 3 in the country. So just, celebrating and, respecting all the accomplishments that women bring in every day. So next up will be Haloy on March 4th, which is actually tomorrow, and Employee Appreciation Day is March 6th. International Women's Day is March 8th. St. Patrick's Day will be on the 17th, and Palm Sunday will be on March 29th. Next will be the authorities, boards, and commissions reports, and we'll start with the State College Borough Water Authority report presented by Mr. Ford Stryker.
Good evening. I submitted a brief written report, which I believe was included in your materials. I just wanted to highlight a few items in there briefly. So in January, the Water Authority published its new rates, which represented a 5% increase in their water rates. They've increased the rates at 5% a year for the last several years, so that seems to be pretty consistent. In the February meeting, they announced the fact that the PUC actually decided to order the sale of the Rock Springs Water Authority to the Pennsylvania American Water Company. I presume you guys are aware of that, but I just figured I'd mention it again. The authority is not going to contest that. They also, in the meeting in February, mentioned that they're going to begin design work on a project to renovate their Woodside treatment plant, with the idea that construction would begin in 2028. So they're going to start with the design and then move their way into construction. They also mentioned that they're going to change the company that they outsource their online payments with. They don't anticipate that's going to adversely impact any customers, but they're going through apparently the current company they use isn't very responsive, so they're going to change. And the last thing they announced was they're going to be accepting bids to replace the water line on Sleepy Hollow Drive. The bids will be on March 5th. So that work will be done this summer. So I'd be happy to try to answer any questions anybody has.
Any questions for Mr. Stryker? Mr. Heller?
Just a statement from my own personal life and experience. I hope that whatever's done with the website and online payments is an improvement. I know historically, sometimes it doesn't recognize my address or my account number, and then I have to bother somebody with a phone call. So I'm looking forward to whatever good changes come through the new vendor. So thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I think that's the reason they're looking at changing the vendors. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad.
Mr.
I see
Patterson?
Mr. Patterson has a question, I think.
Yes, thank you so much. There's in the Rock Springs side of things, just hope that there's something more that can be done potentially. I don't know if that means, potential partnership with PA American or PA American, just turn it over for some nominal amount. But hope there's something that could be done, even though we're not going to, you're not going to, the Borough Water Authority is not going to contest over.
Yeah, I think the Borough Water Authority definitely wanted to acquire it, but as I understand it, unless the owner was willing to sell it to them, the PUC is not legally authorized to require the sale of a private water company to an authority. They can only do it to another water company. So I think that decision's been made, but I suppose down the line, if American Water Authority wanted to sell it to State College Borough Water Authority, maybe they could, but as they say, that's above my pay grade.
Any other questions from the board? If not, Mr. Glebe here in the room has a question. Yes, please. That's the only way Ford could hear it.
Ford, I was wondering if you're on top of how many miles of pipe still needs to be replacement to bring the whole system up to, new. I know when Dave Provoca was township manager, there was still 180 miles that needed to be brought up. Can you say anything to that?
So you're talking about the entire State College Borough Water Authority distribution system?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have that figure. I'd have to refer your question to Brian Heiser, which I can do and try to get back to you. To the
Okay.
board.
Good question. All right, anything else from the board for Mr. Stryker? No, thank you for joining us today, Mr. Stryker.
Great. Have a good evening.
You too. Next will be the SCLO Center Region Library Report, and tonight we have Ms. Barbara Ziff joining us online, as well as here in the room we have Lisa Collins, the Library Director. So we'll yield the floor to whoever wanted to go first there. Looks like you're good to go there, Ms.
There we go.
You're just muted.
No.
Looks like we're just trying to clear out some technical difficulties there. If not, it looks like Ms. Collins will come up front and say a few words while we're working out the glitches.
I'm a librarian, I always have a few words. Let me know, Barbara, if you'd like me to.
Oh.
That might be it. That might be it. I think she's got it.
You got it? You want to try it again, Barbara?
I'm getting an echo.
She has two browsers open.
Looks like she's on twice.
Yeah.
Can you close one of your browser windows?
Don't know how to do that.
It's probably behind a window, knowing the
Okay,
web
I'll go ahead, Barbara. No worries, no worries.
It appears she may need to exit the meeting entirely and just come back in to clear that.
Did you hear that, Barbara? To exit and come back in?
Okay.
the meantime, I can
make
go
sure
ahead
all
and
browser
I'll
windows
get
are closed.
started.
All right.
So the first thing that I wanted to do was to draw your attention into the report to the Elephant and Piggy event that we had. The characters of Mo Williams' popular children's books, Elephant and Piggy, spent some time hanging out with the children of State College. On Sunday, February 1st, we hosted them in our community room. We had over 200 people at that event. And then we went over on Wednesday evening to the popular SCASD Reads, and we have about 700 kids, teens, and adults. And I will say that if you were wondering who might have been Piggy, there are moments as a library director where I'm just like, this is the best job ever. And those two events being, it was amazing. We actually had a teenager who said, I have loved these guys since I was 8. And that's what it is really all about. So we're excited to do that every year and excited to see next year what character we might try to bring to life for both of those events. It was really wonderful. The other thing that I wanted to draw your attention to was the Fall Fund Drive. So for 2025, it was a remarkable success. For our Fall Fund Drive, we raised $105,700. Most of those donations were small donations. It shows just a large number of people believing that the public library is important to their community. And when we asked for the gift, really coming forward, doing little bits at a time to equal a large amount. The other thing that we were excited by was we have a new program in our children's department. It's called the Baby Builders. It's designed for ages 6 through 18 months and their caregivers. It's a very sort of relaxed program. We're not expecting anything from anybody there. It's just everybody coming together, getting to know each other, making connections with each other in the community, and playing with their babies and having staff there just to guide and support. So we're excited to just have that, and it's been really amazing to see how much feedback we're getting that people just value something to do, to come in and enjoy. Barbara, are you there now? Oh. Unmute. You back in? Nope, still not hearing you.
It went back on mute.
I'm going to try unmuting again.
Am I muted now?
Ah, we got you.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
So I covered the Baby Builders Fall Fund Drive wrap-up, and of course the Elephant and Piggy. I stole your thunder big time with that one. So do you want to go ahead and talk about the 2025 numbers that we're proud to share?
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is that Ferguson always comes out on top. That, residents check out like almost 30% of all circulation, and almost 30,000 items were returned to the remote book drops. You would never know that those 2 book drops, both at Giant and in Pine Grove Mills, are so popular, but they are. And the other 2025 numbers include circulation being up by over 4,000 items, and program attendees also up. Almost everything. I think everything is up. I think it should be noted that the parking, we do generate more than $13,500 in income, and that is going to be used to pay for, fortunately for the next parking system when this current one breaks down. So we are really cognizant of the need to save money and to plan ahead. And I think, any other questions any of the board members had about any of our information?
Any board members have any questions for Mr. Heller?
Just, I will always want to say thank you for what you do, for the community, for everybody that shows up to these events, hearing over 700 children, and hearing how many people were in the community room. That's phenomenal. So thank you. And again, Ferguson Township leading the number of circulations that we've taken out. I applaud the residents for really using the service That is so important to the community. I do have two questions, though. First, are there incriminating photos of the piggy incident? Excellent. Maybe we can bring that up at another point.
I was thinking when we go to the budget, hearings and all.
Yes. And then the second part, again, my PSA, is it still after 6 o'clock? If you park in the library lot, that money is donated, it goes right to the library for, if it is a parking need, et cetera. But, so again, after 6 o'clock.
After the library closes, which is at 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. on Fridays, and Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. So whenever the library is not open, we go ahead and we take in those funds. So, yeah.
Excellent. So I want to encourage folks, if you want to donate to the library, that's a great way to do it. Instead of parking downtown, I'll just stop my comment there.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. We had almost 72,000 vehicles that came through our parking lot last year. So,
Great.
yeah, so a lot of usage and a lot of people, coming to enjoy the library. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Stevens.
Thank you. I just have a question about ebooks and the process for getting more and more titles, because I'm an ebook reader, and I'm curious about that. So what's the process for getting that and getting more titles in?
Barbara, do you want me to go ahead and get that one?
Sure.
So it is a continuous, convoluted process is what I would say. Not because the library staff want it to be, but because the publishers and also the platform, which is Overdrive, which provides the Libby app, or Hoopla, which provides the Hoopla app, each one of them has different relationships with publishers. So some of the books that we purchase, we only have to purchase one time. And we have it then for the extent of our time with that item. Other items we actually have to repurchase once they've been utilized a certain number of times, and that's actually set by the publisher. So I always tell everyone that for a long time, what we were trying to do with our Overdrive or Libby collection was that we were trying to do what we do for our physical collection. We were trying to actually develop a collection where you have all the items in a series and all of that. What we've recognized in the last couple of years is that the demand is so high and the cost of the individual books is so large. Many of the audiobooks can be $150 per copy, for example. That what we can do is we really respond to demand. So those bestsellers and things like that, we're trying to respond as much as we can to demand. It means that we may not be able to go back and repurchase titles that are older unless we have a resurgence of interest in them. So that's one piece of the puzzle. The second piece that we're trying to respond to is that we do have the opportunity for some titles, but not all, to buy like 1,000 simultaneous use circulations. So every now and then when we have a donation from someone, or we also, all of our notary services, the support from the notary services goes towards paying towards ebooks. We'll go ahead, if a title is available, because not all of them are, and the ones that are really, really popular, of course, are not always, we'll go ahead and buy 100 circs, so everybody that's at once. So we're dealing with a lot of complexities in that marketplace. You can go from Libby to something like Hoopla. Hoopla is wonderful because you have audiobooks and books that are available really on demand. There's no wait. But the number of titles that they have and the very hot titles is, of course, not what you would want it to be. So we're constantly juggling. We're constantly really purchasing to meet demand. We've got about 18,000 titles, which is the size of a small branch library compared to others in the state of Pennsylvania. That's about what you would expect. And we just kind of try to keep on top of it as much as we can. But a question that I do get about purchasing sometimes is that, well, why do you have the audiobook but you don't have the ebook of something? Well, that's because the e-audiobooks Most of them are you purchase one time and then you have it forever. Most of the ebooks, especially the popular titles, those are the ones we're having to purchase multiple times at that very high rate. So that's a sort of a broad overview of some of the complexities, but happy anytime to talk to you in even more greater detail.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I was gonna say, I imagine there's probably some challenges with publishers wanting royalties, but also, as we're learning with data centers, even all those audio, they gotta be stored somewhere, and that's real estate that doesn't come free. So, it's just how do you balance it all to keep, make it sustainable for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, and you just keep on evolving as the variables evolve, looking for new opportunities, and honestly, talking to our community. So if there are things that people are interested in knowing more about, we're always happy to talk and explain kind of what that marketplace looks like and how we're navigating the best we can with it.
Thank you for that. Any other board members? Okay. No? Thank you, Ms. Collins, and thank you, Ms. Ziff.
Thank you.
All right, next unfinished business. We don't have any. New business, the consent agenda. We have a donation request from the Ferguson Township area senior citizens, as well as a donation request from Strategies for Justice Symposium on Conscious Law Enforcement and Inclusive Practices. Any board members wanted to pull any of those items? Mr. Heller?
Yes, I'd like to pull B.
Okay, actually, we have to pull everything since there's only 2 items. But nobody had any discussion for item A?
Actually, I do.
Okay, well, we'll start with the donation request for the Ferguson Township area senior citizens, and I will recognize Ms. Stevens.
I guess I am pulling this because I'm pulling this because some of what they had listed in their donation request form, it gets back to what Mr. Patterson was talking about before. It's about consistency. So if we're going to pull and start scrutinizing other things, this one I thought as a group, they talk about their community newsletter and they talk about giving donations. And some of the things they give donations to are also organizations that we also, as a township, have given donations to. So it makes me wonder, why are we giving money to a group that gives money to groups that we support, kind of thing? So it just seems redundant. I guess that's my concern, especially as we're in this time of, a deficit budget, and we're looking to save money everywhere we can. So I have concerns about this one.
Thank you for that observation, Ms. Stevens. I don't know if anyone from staff had anything. Mr. Heller, excuse me.
Yes, I would actually be in favor of this donation, and why I share that is I've gone to some of these meetings before, and I think in many ways the donation is a way to encourage and say, we appreciate that you take the time to get together and support each other. That's what I've seen from this group. There's potlucks, there are engagements, as we can see, Lavender Farm, they have good speakers coming into them. And for whatever they may need, even outside of maybe double donations of the $500, I just want to go ahead and show support for this group getting together and really taking care of each other, which is what these discussions are about. So that's kind of my going in on this.
But we support the Active Adult Center, which is again a redundancy with this group, and it seems to me, I'm guessing, based on this, I'm guessing that this is a group primarily out in the Pine Grove Mills area.
Yes. Yes.
it makes me wonder, like, how would seniors in my neighborhood be a part of this group? Again, it's just a redundancy. We support the Active Adult Center, and it seems like their programming is equivalent to what our Active Adult Center does. We give donations to Wreath for America. We give donations to the Ferguson PTO, Ferguson Elementary PTO. Yeah, it just, and it's great. My feeling is that I guess I'm struggling with where we are with our budget and what we're going to support.
If I understand correctly, there is still allocation available in the budget for donation request. I don't know if we had any representatives from Ferguson Township senior citizens in attendance tonight. But without a little bit more information, I don't know if these, like, are these group donations coming out of their funds, or are they kind of like what the elected officials did during the food drive this past winter, where, yeah, it was elected officials that donated to the food pantry, but out of our own personal abundance instead of any taxpayer dollars. So I'll yield to Mr. King.
Thank you. All staff has on this particular request is the 2 pages that are in your agenda. One's the request form, and then one's attached with each of their monthly activities. I've not had any direct communication with the requester. I do know that this was a request that we did support last year, right, at the same amount. So that's the extent of the information we have. Whether the board wants more information, we would have to table it and bring it back to the next meeting with having a person come to speak to the request, which is always a possibility.
We'll yield to Mr. Patterson and then Mr. White.
Well, that's exactly where I was going, where Mr. King was going, is maybe we save this for the next meeting. Over.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Mr. White?
Yeah, I was just gonna agree because, donations can also be in kind, and so like Wreaths Across America, is it monetary? Like, those are questions that could be answered if we had a representative, and so that might actually, I don't, you know.
Yeah. Mr. Heller?
This is a senior citizen group. I've met with these folks. I don't know how, I don't want to parade any person out here at 7:30, 7:45 at night, potentially in bad weather, to maybe justify a $500 donation. And I'm sorry, I can't put it more bluntly than that. So I would be in favor of bringing a motion for this one tonight.
Yeah, I too would be in favor of bringing a motion forward. If the board did want some more clarity on this, I guess I would try to, I would guess I would encourage a little bit of open-mindedness. You know, could this maybe be something that we could have staff go back directly to them instead of maybe bringing them into a meeting, especially if there is, like, you know, other time commitments or something like that that would make it harder for them to come to one of our meetings. So if we wanted some questions answered, I would try to encourage if we could try to get those just answered through staff versus bringing them into a meeting. So however the board wants to, I guess, wrap this up with a motion.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, we can have a vote on it. We have the funds this year, clearly, based on the budget that was passed. But I guess what I'm sort of anticipating is that looking at our donations for our future budget coming up this year.
And we'll have plenty of opportunity for that as well. So take a motion.
This is Matt, and I move that we approve the $500 donation to the Ferguson Township area senior citizens.
And do we have a second? I will second that motion. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 I got 3 ayes. Those opposed say no.
No.
Do Do we have your vote, Mr. Patterson?
No.
Okay. Motion passes 3-2 with Patterson and White dissenting. Next up will be the donation request, Strategies for Justice Symposium on Conscious Law Enforcement and Inclusive Practices. And I believe that was Mr. Haller.
That's correct. I did pull this one. I'm just not familiar with this group. And I don't know others that might be, and I'd like to maybe ask that. Is anybody familiar with this group and the work that they do?
I am familiar with them, and I know Chief Wilson's familiar with them and others in law enforcement, but the founder of Strategies for Justice, Terry Watson, is here and would be glad to give a very brief presentation about their organization and then take any questions that the board may have.
So,
Oh, there's a, what? Yes, please.
we'll invite Mr. Watson up. I was going to give you the opportunity anyhow since you were here, and always great having you. And tell us a little bit about
Yeah, I
your work.
recognize that this may be the Ferguson Township as a whole. So I want to give a very short presentation about what we do and who we are and the impact we've had on Centre County specifically. Please. Technology.
Yeah, warming up. We just got a
It's warming up.
projector, so she's warming up.
So whilst it's warming up, one thing I'll say is that our Strategies for Justice is a speaking and training bureau that focuses on race, disability, and
Have you speak up?
just one. Oh, there we go. No.
There we go.
So my day job is disability services, and so this is accessibility is very important to me too, actually. Our organization focuses on training law enforcement across the country on the topics of race, gender, and disability. We were founded in 2019. Actually, the story started with me telling the story here in 2016 at University Park. When we started with the thought of trying to tell untold stories in law enforcement to educate the community. Throughout time, and in 2021, we held our first symposium on conscious law enforcement and inclusive practices, and it was really in response to the protests that was happening nationally around the country. I was almost there.
Again, new projector, so apologies.
No worries, no worries.
Let me jump on the WebEx call. I'll start that. 2 seconds. I'll get it up.
All right. So whilst that's also going, I'll continue a little bit here. So our board of advisors, we have 7 board of advisors, which half of them are here in Centre County. One of them is actually a Ferguson resident. We are consistently engaging law enforcement, and we always focus our symposium on some of the most tense conversations that's happening nationally. We bring in national speakers. The symposium is virtual, and it's virtual because we want to make sure as many people can attend. And the money that we raise for the symposium is to make sure that the residents can attend for free. Also, part of that funding is to make sure that we can provide accessible content, meaning we usually have an ASL interpreter for our programs to allow for our deaf and hard of hearing residents to fully access the symposium. Just to give a little, whilst the technology is coming about, oh, there we go. That's almost perfect timing. So, by the way, this year we celebrate our 7th anniversary as an organization. We can go to the next slide. So, our symposiums supporters in the past, we've usually had a lot of citizens who will contribute financially because of the mission itself. But historically, it's been the Borough State College, it's been the National Association for Black Law Enforcement Officers, Patton Township, Penn State University Police and Public Safety, the State College Police Department, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Centre County, and the United Nations Association of Center of Pennsylvania. If you look at the chart over there of our individual sponsors and our organizational sponsors, that big purple, that is State College in Center County. So you can see the majority of our support comes locally. That picture right there, matter of fact, was the one and only in-person one we had because we wanted to convene together. And I believe if you look closely enough, you'll see our dear friend Matt in the back there. So, all right, next slide, please. We have a specific target of who we want to be in our symposium. We want, the bottom bar is the community members, so folks who are just our community members. I want to be learn more. Academia is the next. Social justice organizations, law enforcement active, mental health professionals, law enforcement retired, and so on and so on. So this is what makes up our symposium, and we actually target those areas. And next slide. I'm just going to go quickly up the topic. So our first symposium was addressing the protest. It was change isn't easy but necessary. We invited to law enforcement people to be our keynote, and we had a very busy symposium. It was almost too busy, so we decided to tailor it down after year one. Year two, which is next slide. Some say it was our best symposium thus far, which was police and mental health. So we looked at the mental health of police officers as well as the mental health of community and look at the intersectionalities of those two and how they actually play into community safety. We had our keynote was our Joe Samaro from Crisis Cop, which is a national training on police mental health and how to respond to community mental health. Next slide. The year after that was No Women Left Behind. We focused on gender and law enforcement. And really had a really wonderful conversation. And those who were there in person probably remember we had a keynote who really spoke to the some of the concerns about being a woman and really working with law enforcement. Next slide, please. The year after that, we did the community policing through the lens of systematically impacted individuals. Meaning that we look for folks who are recently incarcerated or have done time and really had them speak on community policing as well with police. So if you look at the two keynotes, you had Tyrone Parker, who got the Presidential Medal of Freedom 2 years ago, and Ron Hampton, who was a retired police officer, and they presented together on what police and systematically impacted folks can do together in the community to actually impact social justice and public safety. Next slide. And last year we did our symposium on evaluating the intersectionality of race and disability. The map that you see right there is the map of where our participants came from. So we are now tracking to see where they're coming from. As you see, the majority, that dark green is Pennsylvania because that's where we were located. Surprisingly, California came next. So that was a pretty big shock, actually. So we're keeping track of that as well. And then we go to the next slide. So what we did last year, real quickly, we actually went through the sustainability program here in State College, and we had a group of students look at our organization. And one of the recommendations that they made was to really have a specific focus on local, sort of local issues and making sure that our local residents was involved. So one of the things that came out of that was because our symposium topics are really tense, we really started looking at what could we do to make sure there is some type of social aspect to it. So we go to the next slide. We started doing a couple of things. So now we have the Walking Wednesdays, and by the way, this is a little pitch out here. If you are free 7:30 in the morning on a Wednesday and you want to walk with some cool people, come to the Nittany Mall. It's actually a pretty cool event. We do it every Wednesday. Tomorrow's no exception. But as you can see, we've been walking. We'll be celebrating our 2-year anniversary. It's mostly residents. Sometimes the mayor will show up. Usually police is there because, again, it's supposed to be a police community, a relationship. And we go walking, and we typically have a topic of a question of the day. Last week, our question of the day was, if Team Nittany had its own album, what would be the top songs and the titles of the songs? And I'm going to post that on social media, the responses. But we usually have a really good time, and we do connect with other teams across the country. So we do have Team Chicago and Team LA, which, if you want to do the math, that means Team LA is up at 4:30 in the morning walking with us. So congratulations, Team LA. And we also tell the stories. So these are some of the stories that came out of our Walking Wednesday. And these are folks from all across the country who are walking. And sometimes we get to celebrate our own local residents. If you see the one that's in the middle there, Winnie is a local resident that passed away from cancer, and one of our board members wanted to tell her story, and so we highlighted her for breast cancer awareness month. Next slide. And then, because again of our tense conversations during the symposium, we started last year doing our symposium bowling event for community members and police. As you can see, this is our pictures from last year, and right now the bragging rights do go to Chief Tyler, who's out of the Township, because he won it last year, and he's been bragging about it all year long. So we started doing more social events with our local citizens and our police. And again, we understand that we're going to have some tough conversations, but at the same time, we want to make sure we have civil discourse. And so we continue this as well this year. I believe this might be closest to the last slide. So yeah, this year, every August, we focus on the topic that needs to be discussed the most. This year, we looked at the criminalization of immigrants in America, and we're going to talk about that this year. And so far, the speakers that we have lined up, I think we really would do a good job leading that conversation. So that's Strategies for Justice. So thank you.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Watson? Mr. Heller.
I will share this. Initially going in, I was ready to say no to the donation. And I truly appreciate you coming in and taking the time to explain the organization, Mr. Watson, and help me understand the local connection, to see what you're doing within the community. The fact that, if I understand correctly, it's all online. So anybody, a citizen like me, on April 2nd, is it?
Yes, April 2nd, and that's the reason we did it online. So we was going to do it in person. If we do it in person, it's going to be here in State College, by the way. So that was always been a plan. But there's two reasons why we do it online. One, we know that not everyone can physically get to a location. And again, even though I live and breathe Strategies for Justice, I am a disability advocate. That's what I've been doing my whole life. So accessibility is really important to me. So when I think about who could access our symposium, I'm thinking about those with disabilities, and I'm thinking about those who financially can't afford to pay for a ticket. So by keeping it online, it keeps it cheaper. Typically our speakers that we pay, they're able to take less of a fee or whatever speaking fee because it's virtual. So that's one of the reasons why I keep it virtual. So yes, and we do hope that residents, definitely in Ferguson, can attend and will attend.
Great. Thank you for that. And I say, this has truly helped me understand. I'm glad I pulled this item so I could learn more about it. I'm glad you were prepared. I also want to say thank you to staff for creating this space that Mr. Watson could have a presentation of the time to help educate us. So thank you.
Any other questions? No, I thank you, Mr. Watson, for attending. Appreciate all your work in the community. As a matter of fact, there's been a group of elected officials from time to time. We have met with Mr. Watson and others in our community through some workshops and other learning opportunities around DEI, and those have been very helpful and enlightening. So, appreciate all your work that you do in our community, Mr. Watson.
Absolutely. And I appreciate. I got to do one shameless plug too, because why not? This Saturday, because we talked about Women's History Month, and y'all talked about in your agenda, we do have a podcast style panel happening at the Township on Saturday. Space is limited, but it's going to focus on our local women leaders. Now, again, we try to have the extension of all the townships, but I was surprised how popular that was going to be. We currently have 7 panelists when I only really budgeted for 4. But it's going to be fun. I think we're going to have food there, and really is to highlight the women in our local community who are doing some really good things. So if you can somehow put that somewhere where people can attend, it's going to be at the Patton Township Municipality Building at 10 o'clock a.m. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's nothing further from the board, I'd entertain a motion.
Is Omari so moved?
How much is requested?
Give me 1 second. $1,000. Do we have a second on that?
This is Trevor, I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Patterson, second by Mr. White. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the donation request say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. Okay. Motion passes. Next up will be the discussion and consideration of township support for the State College Air Service Alliance's Fly State College Fund. And at this time, I will recognize the manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg Scott, the President and CEO of the CBICC, contacted Ferguson Township to request the Board of Supervisors consider supporting the State College Air Service Alliance Fly State College Fund with a contribution of $10,000. The alliance is comprised of the Chamber of Business and Industry of Center County, the Center County Airport Authority, the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau, the Pennsylvania State University, and numerous Center County community partners working to improve air service in Center County to enhance job growth, economic development, and local quality of life. As part of their economic initiatives, the Alliance is requesting municipal participation to reinforce regional alignment and strengthen their position in active airline discussions and upcoming federal grant application through a multi-pronged effort, including the Fly State College Fund. The fund is a community-led initiative pool designed to support the attraction and retention of commercial air service at the State College Regional Airport. It is one component of a broader, coordinated strategy currently underway. Benner Township and Bellefonte Borough are currently listed as major contributors. Last week, College Township and Patton Township voted to financially support the fund. In addition to the Fly State College Fund, the State College Area Service Alliance is also actively working to improve airline services through direct meetings with major airlines, identifying passenger demand data, completing a quantified air service leakage study, and negotiating competitive airline incentive tools such as waived landing fees, terminal rent, and security fees. The Alliance anticipates applying in April or May for a federal Small Communities Air Service Development Program grant through the U.S. Department of Transportation. They plan to request $750,000 in federal funding to support air service development at State College Regional Airport. The grant requires a local community match, and the Fly State College Fund will serve as the community match. Mr. Scott is present to discuss the request and to answer questions for the board.
Great, thank you, Mr. King, and you pretty much covered all my remarks, so I don't think I have to repeat that. But I do view this, air service and connectivity in our area as a critical economic infrastructure piece of what we're trying to do, and aligns directly with our Center County Economic Development Strategic Plan that was brought forth, and I think I presented to the supervisors about a year and 3 months ago about that plan and what we're trying to do. So this shows measurable progress in that area, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Scott?
I'll hold mine.
Okay. We'll go online. Mr. Patterson.
Is there I understand the fund, and that's really a good thing to say, hey, we have X amount of dollars in the bank. Is there an opportunity for, I guess, maybe commitments? I mean, is that just as good as dollars in the bank?
Yes. So we're accepting contributions and pledges to the fund. And we have had a number of pledges, and the idea is I would prefer to get as many of those pledges turned to cash into a restricted fund that CBICC is managing on behalf of the Air Service Alliance. We're acting as the fiscal agent for those funds, but we put them in a restricted fund. That way we're ready to respond as quickly as possible when we have an opportunity that presents itself to us and enter into negotiations with an airline. In practicality, if we do have a discussion with an airline and we are able to enter into a negotiation and come up with an amount that we would be supportive to them in terms of a minimum revenue guarantee, I would be able to negotiate that based on the pledges, and then I would have a period of time to go out and collect on those pledges that have been made. Probably several months, in fact, to go out and collect on those pledges. So currently, we have over $150,000 collected into the fund. Our ultimate goal is $500,000. Our near-term goal is $250,000. So we're about $100,000 away from our near-term goal, which I've set a date of April 15th to achieve that goal. We're also looking for, I would say equally as important, not equally as important, very important as well, is the number of contributors that we have into the fund. So there's two aspects of that. One is raising the dollars, and having the dollars to be able to go and compete for airlines to come here, compete for that air service. But having the number of contributors be up over 100 signals to the airlines, and Mr. King mentioned the air service grant that we're going after through the federal government. When those grant reviewers look at it, looking at broad community support is very, very important to them to look at. So while Ferguson Township as an organization would be a contributor, we're also looking for individual contributors. And we have set up a website called the statecollegeairlines.com website where we are taking individual donations. So we have over 40 individual contributors to date, and I'm looking to push that to 100 with a $250,000 either contributed or pledged by April 15th. And the reason for setting that deadline of April 15th, a month and a half from now, setting some urgency to this is, one, we are in active conversations with airlines currently. There is interest in State College and expanding air service here. So the time is right, and we need to be prepared and ready to go when those conversations happen. And number two, the grant application process is going to open up probably in April or May, and we need to be able to identify in that grant application what our community match is going to be to go after that $750,000 that we, anticipate requesting from the federal government for an air service match.
Great, thank you. And then my other question is, I definitely see the benefits and the economic development associated with this. I just don't. I guess, do you have any idea on the flow down of that? Like, the airport is, there in the Benner, Bellefonte, or Patton area, and like what that radius of flow to, such that Ferguson sees benefit there. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can offer a few thoughts. Now I know that the airport itself sits in the townships that you mentioned, Benner and next to Patton, and kind of College Township as well. But we're really looking broader than those areas, and not just the specific impact that airport might have on the local municipalities. What we're looking at as the opportunity for connectivity to not only our region, but to the nation and to the world, as we look to attract talent into our area, connectivity and getting what we're hearing is from companies that are coming in, their ability to attract employees is directly related to how our airport, what our airport's able to access and the connectivity it provides. I can tell you, in the time that I've had this job, I have had many, many conversations with companies who have shown an interest in coming and relocating or setting up their business here in the Central region, where they have their checklist of things they're looking to check off. Many of those get checked off in a very positive manner. When they get to the airport, it becomes a deal breaker because it's too hard for them to get here, to get their goods here, to get their sales force out to where they need to go. So it has been on many, many occasions an area where I've looked at the airport as being something that's halted our economic growth as a region. And so I would answer that question, Omari, as one that, it directly impacts all of our region, which Ferguson Township sits in, and I think the broader extent of having that connectivity from an economic development growth standpoint, but also a regional asset is very, very important.
Copy that. Thank you. No, I think my initial thoughts here that, that there's some benefit here, and I think I'm leaning toward maybe a pledge versus some sort of cash out the door immediately. But those are just my initial thoughts. But thank you.
Yeah, with the pledge, one of the things that we listed off the townships that have contributed so far. My goal is to be able to go back and show a cohesive unity across our municipalities in the center region to our reviewers and to those airlines. So a pledge serves that purpose for Ferguson Township to be participating in this, and for me to put your name on the list of municipalities that are participating. I'm going to be meeting with the State College Borough on Thursday night, and then later this month with the county for their participation as well.
If Mr. Patterson had nothing further, Ms. Stevens.
Thank you. So basically, this is a request for a donation. And I am not sure that staff is prepared to answer where we are. The amount that you have requested exceeds what our donation budget was, if I'm not mistaken. So I would not at all be in favor of supporting this at $10,000. I have my concerns. Again, just I keep getting tripped up with our finances and our deficit budget as a township. And I think I'm also, if I'm honest, I'd be more interested in pursuing connectivity to rail as opposed to expanding our airport. I know in the past we gave money because we had Delta here, and then Delta was out fast, quick, and in a hurry. And to me, airlines will expand based on their pilots, the number of pilots they have. So while I see, your points about the economic development, I am skeptical. So as a region, though, I would like to support it in some way, but at a significantly smaller amount, much like the donation requests that we got from the senior citizens or from Strategies for Justice. So at a much lesser amount, but that way you have our name on the paper. I would consider something like that, or as Omari had said, maybe a pledge, something to be reviewed later. And those are my thoughts.
I believe Mr. King. I'll yield to Mr. King.
Well, just to answer Ms. Stevens' question about our budget for donations, contributions such as this, the board budgeted $6,000 for the year. Counting tonight's approval so far, we have a balance of $4,000. So we after tonight, again up to this moment, we'll have spent $2,000 of that $4,000. So do know that at least one, if not more, but at least one of the municipalities did a smaller amount with the understanding that they were going to do their best to put something in their either CIP or their 2027 budget going forward, I believe.
That's right.
Great, thank you for that information.
I'll just offer one comment to Ms. Stevens with regards to, airlines will decide to expand or contract. Really, their decision on coming and expanding air service has to be intentional from the community. They're very much looking for a community to be involved in that process. I have learned through extensive work in this area that incentives are incredibly important. In fact, they're necessary to attract air service for a new air service to come. When Delta decided to leave, it was a very corporate decision. It wasn't based on lack of demand. That flight to Detroit was a very popular flight, and we're in discussions with Delta to get that flight back eventually, as they sort through equipment and, as you mentioned, pilot shortages. We're kind of on the back end of the pilot shortage situation that had occurred over the last 3 to 4 to 5 years since COVID. But as these airlines look and they evaluate opportunities to expand air service, being involved with the community and having the community go out and seek and provide the data, which is what we collected last fall, to them so that they can properly evaluate that in conjunction with what can the community do, what can the airports do to de-risk their investment back into a community or into a community to expand air service is incredibly important.
Going to say if Ms. Stevens has nothing further, I believe I've gone around the room, so you're next, Mr. White. You're still on the table.
Okay.
Because you deferred.
So, yeah, I'm extremely concerned with this. Everything that you've mentioned so far kind of screams rent-seeking behavior from the airlines, not the CBICC, from the airlines specifically. I want to clarify.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Rent-seeking behavior.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I would love to. Okay, so we are going to be pooling our resources for a guarantee on their revenue.
Yeah, let me explain that. I'll explain how that works. And again, this happens at every airport across the country when you're seeking air service. So when an airline comes in, and airlines are not extremely profitable. I mean, they're just not across the board. We've studied that and looked at that. And so when they come in, we have an opportunity as a community to sit down with them and negotiate a minimum revenue guarantee for a period of time. That could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, and it's up to a certain amount. So, and you do it monthly. So that's the way that works. It's an opportunity to de-risk their investment in the air until they become profitable, and then that ends, and it doesn't move forward. So.
And that's the concern, is because, I mean, you mentioned the pilot shortage. A lot of these airlines do not have good track records when it comes to labor rights. They don't bring a lot when it comes to growth. I'm talking about these specific jobs within the airline themselves. Those labor practices are, we'll just say bad. But also with your economic case, or not yours, but with this, with the attachment, it says limited connectivity increases business costs and weakens competitiveness. Air service is not static. Markets that actively compete, secure, and retain routes. So what that tells me is that if we're not donating money, they're not coming. And that is rent-seeking behavior. And that is concerning. Like, that's kind of the same thing with, like, a lot of municipalities competing for their Amazon warehouses, but instead we're just doing it for an airline. Couple that with the concerns surrounding the water around Benner Township, the PFAS there. If we bring in more air traffic, are we going to need to increase the fire suppression system at the airport? And what will that look like for the groundwater in the surrounding area? Like, there's a lot of concerns that I have here, and a lot of people in my generation don't really want to fly, if I'm being honest. There's whole jokes about, a certain company, a certain air manufacturing company and their substandard equipment. A lot of people, to Ms. Stevens' point, really, really, really want trains because planes scare the crap out of them, because we've seen a lot of aviation mishaps. You talked about this being part of a grant with the federal government. Is that a risk we're willing to bear? We've seen what happens with budgets. We've seen, there is so much risk here, and I don't think it's worth it. And to be honest, the economic activity connecting to Charlotte, the economic sectors in Charlotte, they're mostly financial. Maybe it's the connections after Charlotte.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Charlotte is a major hub, and our ability to get there connects our region to the rest of the country and the rest of the world. So it's not about needing to get to Charlotte specifically. It's about connecting us to the rest of the world as a major U.S. hub.
And so right now we have a direct flight to Chicago, if I'm correct, right?
Chicago, Dulles, Philadelphia.
Yeah, so I'm kind of, I don't know. That doesn't really, I mean, I know we have a pretty big tourism sector here. Or I say tourism, we'll say event-dependent economic activity, football season, so on and so forth. Beyond that, what is the economic activity? What are the actual industries that want to be here? That would, what are the industries that would actually, like, what is the economic development is my question, like, beyond hospitality and tourism?
Air travel is incredibly important to one of our economic infrastructure pieces to what we're trying to accomplish as a community and a region moving forward. So it absolutely matters. It doesn't really matter what kind of company we're trying to recruit. Companies here that I talk to are looking for greater connectivity and not going other places, or having to put remote locations out, or think about leaving the area because there's not that connectivity. So some of this is defensive, some of this is offensive. It's important for us to have that infrastructure in place and continue to expand our air service opportunities for companies, for our citizens who live here, our residents who want connectivity out to various parts of the country.
So on that note, I know the National Bureau of Economic Research hasn't officially declared a recession yet, but I'm sure you've heard of like the K-shaped economy. And we have an extremely bimodal income distribution around here. And so I'm worried that a lot of this is coming from the higher quantiles of income and disregards a lot of the lower income quantiles because, I took a look at, and I know we don't have the connections to Charlotte just yet, but even the cheapest flights there, like it's cheaper for me to drive there. It takes longer, but it's cheaper. And a lot of people are making those decisions because the elasticity of demand for flights is, it's pretty elastic. So as we start to enter into a recession, as we start to, see the effects of this K-shaped economy coming more and more, I don't think that the airline, I'm not in the air industry, but it doesn't sound to me like, expansion in this current economic setting is in a lot of companies' benefits. I mean, our GDP was comprised of mostly growth in the hospital or in health sectors and then AI data centers. And so I don't necessarily see this as something that would improve the economic viability of this region because we're kind of in the middle of a lot of sectors contracting. So that's my reason for saying that this is very, very risky. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sorry.
Thank you for sharing. Mr. Heller, and then Mr. Keogh's got questions? I take that as an affirmative.
Mr. Scott, thank you for coming in tonight and explaining and kind of diving into a lot of this. I will just maybe state my position first. I would be okay with a pledge of the $10,000 to be called upon at a later date, depending on how the conversations go, but making a pledge to that. I will say from my experience in aviation since I was 14, being a pilot and Air Force and everything else, you probably know where this is going, everybody. I would be a fan of this, knowing how volatile and how small the margins are, though I do have concerns. So let me just start with, the university is about to divest itself of the airport, trying to divest itself. How does that impact this plan?
It doesn't, 0%. This plan moves forward. It was never reliant on Penn State owning the airport. Okay. We've developed a strong partnership. The alliance has between CBICC, the HVAB, the Airport Authority, and Penn State will still be a part of this as a strong partner. But it doesn't impact how we attract and retain air service at the airport or this initiative moving forward.
Okay. Are we looking at all in the plan, I didn't see, like contracted regional operators, those places like SkyWest and others that say, we'll come to you, but you've got to pay us, not just bringing in a Delta or an American or changing up the big folks, but taking a different way of attracting or other aircraft service?
Yeah, so those airlines, those smaller contracted airlines that contract with the legacy airlines, the big three, are certainly opportunities. We're working with the legacy airlines directly. And you saw, I forget what it is, out of Altoona that flies to Charlotte. There's a flight from Altoona to Charlotte. That's a federally subsidized flight because of the designation that airport has. We are not able to have that designation. So bringing these airlines in, there's no federal subsidy to provide to those. So that's a flight that exists only because of the designation of that airport. So the answer to your question, long answer to your question is yes. Those are all on the table, in addition to talking to the ultra-low-cost carriers, such as Breeze Airlines or Allegiant or Avelo, the opportunity to bring in a low-cost carrier for a flight to, let's say, Florida, which is the top destination for our catchment area, a 60-mile radius around the airport. Residents who have flown, who live there and have flown somewhere in the last year, the top 3 locations were all in Florida where they were going. So strong demand demonstrated that within our area there would be full flights to Florida if we had one of those carriers come on board and join the airport.
Okay. I'll say this, and I appreciate the data that you're providing here about where the flights are going. Part of it, as the research or the studies might be done, I'd be most curious to know how we're going to capture, and I'm sure it's in the data, when people use other airports.
Yeah.
Because we hear that all the time here. I'm a family of 4, and I'm not going to spend $1,100 to $1,500 more for the privilege of coming or flying out of state college when I can drive to Philadelphia. And it's got to be bad if they're driving to Philadelphia. I mean, let's just say that. Being from the area, I'll claim that. If they're flying out of places like that, or Baltimore, or even driving to Newark.
Yep. So we do have that data. We collected it last fall, where we collected the data about where people were going. We also collected the data out of that 60-mile radius of residents. Where were they going to fly out of? 41% went to Pittsburgh. The remainder were Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Dulles, and BWI. We were number 6 on the list. 13% of the travelers that flew out of, that were in this catchment that flew somewhere, 13% flew out of State College. Now, the majority of those are business travelers, where it's a single person going there. They're willing, time is money. They're not willing to drive to Philadelphia to save a couple dollars. You're right, Matt. Family of 4. It's really difficult to fly out of State College and make it work. Now, I will tell you, the more we have the ability to bring in additional air service and competition, it will lower the prices. It happens at airports across the country. So it'll lower the cost to our consumer because we'll have more throughput through that airport. So that is one of our goals, is to lower the cost to fly out of the area so people aren't making that choice to drive to Pittsburgh because it saves $500 to do that.
I think I'd be curious again to maybe see the data.
I'll show it to you. I've got it. I'll send it to you.
Because I think the important part for me is what are those things that are being recorded on, like the websites like Experian or something like that, where people have to put their home, Expedia, I should say. I apologize. Expedia,
Right.
where you're putting your home zip code in, but you're flying out of this different zip code.
Yeah.
That's the indicator that I'm really curious about.
That's the data we have collected. It shows exactly where people live, where do they drive to fly out of, and where is that. We have all that data that we collected last fall, which was incredibly important in the process we went through, because you can't have a conversation with an airline about coming here without that data in hand, because they do not collect that data. They don't collect it. So we've got to show them the demand that we have in our area to use our regional airport.
Absolutely. And I will say part of my concern is the fewer regional pilots that are in the pipeline now, but I am seeing, there is that swelling, there's a bubble that's about to come through. Unfortunately, regional air travel will always be volatile because, no offense, but pilots don't want to stay in the regional airport on the airlines. They want to move up to the heavies and fly overseas. Yeah. So it's a stepping stone. So it's always going to be volatile. And I think for our discussion here tonight, I believe a pledge is appropriate. And as conversations go on, then we can go ahead and talk about a larger investment, because I do see potential benefits from this. And it's also back to Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. So we'll see how this progresses, and I appreciate you coming in and helping us understand this.
Absolutely.
My only comments.
All right. So I think we've got through the whole board. I'm going to try not to go on and on, but I do remember it was actually during the pandemic, the township was approached by the county that was trying to do a similar incentive package to get flights to Charlotte through American Airlines, but it appears American Airlines wasn't able to commit to that. So the townships the municipalities that did contribute ended up getting that money back in the end. But of course, this is another opportunity in a different time. I understand air travel is one of many modes of transportation, and a lot of it is based on preferences, but also time. But I can't help but to share that I, sitting here, am one of that has traveled over 30 states all by train. So I do think there is also some benefits in rail travel. Right now in the region, we're doing the regional rail study. Things look to be still on track for the second Pennsylvania train through the state of Pennsylvania late this coming year. I know there was some discussion about flight prices. I can tell you, based on some of the sales that Amtrak has had on the auto train, sometimes it is cheaper for somebody to drive to DC, put their car on a train to go to Florida than it is for them to fly. So there was that observation. I would be in favor of a pledge should we move forward with this. I guess the big question is, when would we have to get the money? Because I'm thinking right now there's really not budget for this year, but maybe for 2027. But again, trying to gauge where your timeline might be on that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there is no definitive. I don't know if it will be in 3 months. I don't know if it'll be in 6 months. I don't know if it'll be in 18 months. All I know is the effort we're putting forth is to be prepared that when that time comes. And I'll draw a distinction to, you mentioned back in around the COVID times when there was an effort to pull together some funds to go after a Charlotte flight. That was a very specific example, very specific intentional opportunity that was put in front of us. That I would say we were collecting the funds after the fact. Like, okay, we started discussions. Now we got to pull the funds together. And we've had a couple opportunities since then where we tried to very haphazardly at the last second pull those funds together. So, my intention in putting this Fly State College Fund together was to be proactive and be ready to go when we have an opportunity in front of us. And whatever that opportunity is, Charlotte, a Florida flight, bringing back Delta to Detroit, or any other opportunity that might present itself, be ready to go. So it's hard for me to answer that question as far as like when it would be available. I can tell you, our conversations with, like, for instance, a Breeze Airlines, they have signaled to us that because of what they're doing corporately and some of their locations they've expanded to, they're very interested in State College, but probably not until 2027 or maybe early 28. So, in that particular case, yeah, that works, timeline. But if we're having a conversation with an airline about Charlotte right now, who knows what that might entail. But again, I think we could work through that timing, whereas we wouldn't need to have all the money in place because these are paid out monthly. As long as I had a commitment that it was like when I truly did need it, which could probably be down the road a little bit, we could work through that.
Okay. Thank you. That's good information now. Mr. Keogh has a question. I will invite him up.
I don't know as I have a question as much as a couple of comments about the proposal. You all have mentioned rail, and I appreciate that. I especially know Mr. Thompson's affinity to rail, and having that impresses me. But the infrastructure related to the development of rail service in this region is got a huge impact. And probably my lifetime, I won't see it. We mentioned in a part of your conversation about utilizing the donation policy. We can't. The donation policy has a specific limit of $1,000. So this discussion is outside of that, because there is a specific amount that is the maximum amount in our current donation policy. Something that we have on the table for this township is our whole commitment to economic development.
Right.
And what does that mean? Well, we don't completely know what it means, but we know that based on the work that the consultant did, we know that we've got some things to do in order to improve our condition with regard to economic development for Ferguson Township. I've had the privilege of sitting through a number of presentations by the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau and some presentations by CVICC regarding the data that we have already collected in the region to generate discussions about economic development and what direction we should go, including one, that you make a pledge as opposed to a contribution, and two, I would love to have Happy Valley Adventure Bureau and CVICC come in and do a data presentation to you all, not only to affect this impact, but to address and talk about our entire economic development direction in the future, because I think both of them are connected. So I would be in favor of you moving forward with a pledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else from, going back to the board, any?
Happy to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Heller. Sorry. Question, Patty, or can we defer to Mr. Heller?
Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Maybe I'll
Okay.
have some comments after Matt.
And we can have discussion after the motion.
This is Matt. I move that the Board of Supervisors make a $10,000 pledge, not contribution, pledge at this point, to the State College Air Service Alliance Fly State College Fund.
And do we have a second? I will second that motion and defer to Mr. King. Are we in alignment? Because I think we would have to eventually make a budget amendment, or well, there's a few more steps I think we would have to do after this, but does this adequately set you up?
It does.
Okay.
And
Staff write a letter to encourage them to come back for future opportunities and deals that they negotiate. Oh.
This is
And-
Patty. I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Patterson, second by Ms. Stevens. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Heller?
It's better than nothing, so thank you.
Yeah, anyone else? I would echo.
Yeah, I'll just take this.
Go ahead.
I'll just take this opportunity to say that, we put a fairly sizable deficit in place in December. And I think that I'm kind of on we need to fill that deficit with the deficit we thought we were going to have and more. So this is, I think, kind of the first step in probably a little bit more austere posture for me. Over.
Thank you. Any other board I would echo Mr. Heller's comments. I do understand where the rest of the board is coming from and do agree that our budget and the deficit is something that we, should be addressing moving forward. I kind of would have hoped to have maybe, though, at least for this, seen more of a contribution, but I understand where everyone's coming from and understanding, the challenges of having to balance all that out. So I'll just leave that at that. Anything further? Yes, Mr. Heller.
So point of order, this is now, would be, if passed, a deduction from the funds that we have in our donation pot.
That's correct.
So
It would be-
affirming for all.
Okay, so it would come out of the donation from there. Okay.
And would decrease it from 4 to 3, allocated for the rest of the
Yeah.
$4,000 to $3,000.
There's also one other opportunity that there's, I think, exactly, I'm gonna look at Todd, $1,000 left in the Economic Development Fund that after we had paid the final invoice for Fourth Economy, there's a balance left that's specifically for economic contributions. That's a question that I'm looking to the finance director.
Yes, I think that's what it's for, so I think this would fit better in that.
So we could take it from there, given that this is specifically for, part of what this is for economic development. And we do have that remaining $1,000 balance for contributions. And we wouldn't have to take it from the $4,000 balance that we have in the regular contribution fund.
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable it coming from there, and that sounds quite fitting. So thank you, Todd.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Any further discussion?
I'll just reiterate that functionally, I do not see a donation to these airlines as any different than when municipalities are competing for example, an Amazon warehouse. It is a private these are private companies that are wanting taxpayer dollars, and I understand that airlines operate at smaller margins. We subsidize farmers because farmers provide a significant benefit and they operate at small margins. Airlines is very elastic. I am not in support of this.
Okay, anyone else? If not, all those in favor of the motion on the table say aye.
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 Any opposed say no.
No.
And your vote, Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-1 with Mr. White dissenting. All right, next up will be the discussion and consideration for alternative revenue source via Allegheny Strategy Partners, and I will recognize the manager.
In 2025, the municipal managers from the Center Region COG municipalities began meeting to discuss potential opportunities for revenue expansion to assist in alleviating ongoing budget revenue shortfalls. The initial meeting with the managers was an overview of previous conversations held between the State College Borough and Mike Negra of Allegheny Strategy Partners, a consulting firm based in Brockway, Pennsylvania. The managers had several meetings and conversations with ASP during the year. As a result, ASP developed a proposal to perform advanced research work specifically to identify potential revenue sources for the Center Region. And the proposal was attached with your materials. This initial work by ASP would serve as the basis of potential future work in engaging with members of the Pennsylvania legislature for required legislative changes. The proposal is specific to the Center Region municipalities and focuses on the financial impacts of a multi-event destination region regarding public safety impacts such as police costs, fire, EMS, sanitation, etc. The proposed scope of work would begin in April 2026 and continue through September 2026 at a cost of $5,000 per month. The costs are proposed to be split among the 4 participating municipalities, State College Borough, Ferguson, Patton, and College Townships in a prorated formula based on the total number of liquor licenses in each municipality. Harris Township has declined to participate in funding this proposal. While the $5,000 per month cost will continue through the completion of September 2026, A new proposal will be required at an additional cost for any additional work by ASP that could include actively lobbying Pennsylvania legislature for enabling legislation on behalf of the Center Region municipalities. This information and proposal are before the Board of Supervisors to determine the level of interest in participating in the scope of work as outlined by ASP. Ferguson Township's share of the $5,000 per month is 17% or $850 per month. The total for this 6-month project for the township is $5,100. A breakdown of each of the proposed participating municipalities' costs is at the end of this memo. Identifying additional sustainable municipal revenue sources is very difficult. The concept of this proposal is a unique and innovative strategy to attempt to develop sustainable municipal revenues to address public safety-oriented costs associated with events held in the Center Region. While it may be a challenge for the Pennsylvania legislature to approve enabling legislation for alternative revenue sources for this purpose, during budget discussions in late 2025, staff and the board discussed the importance of attempting to identify new revenue sources as one strategy to address our structurally unbalanced budget. It's recommended that the Board of Supervisors reviews this proposal and authorizes $5,100 in expenditures to fund this proposed ASP scope of work.
Any questions for the manager from the board?
I should say that Mike Negra from Allegheny Strategic Partners is online in the event you have any questions for him.
Okay. If there's no questions, would anyone want to entertain a motion? If not, how? Anyone's thoughts?
I always have thoughts.
Okay.
I just want to stress that, not that this matters, the other 3 partners have already approved the agreement.
Yeah.
They'll end up having to pick up additional shares, obviously, if we're not going to be part of this.
Right.
But one of the biggest impacts on our communities, and we're a big tourism destination location, of which very little of the funds spent in people visiting here come back to the municipality. The only thing we end up getting is the expenses part of those trips, which are, we all know, we don't have to tell each other how often they are. We talk about Penn State football games, but it goes way beyond Penn State football games when you think of the events month in and month out. And we talk about, we don't want to continue to go to our residents as our taxpayers and use the typical property tax, real estate tax, or earned income tax, or local services tax. And this is a company that is proposing a unique opportunity to say, here's a way that we want to try to help come up with the information necessary to go to our state legislator and make a case as to why we should have some enabling legislation to do something that would be able to get some funding for our services from the people who use our services during their trips to the Center Region. And so I believe it's important for us to look for other revenue sources. We also have to look at the expenditure side, no doubt. But we can't just do it on expenditures. We also have to find other revenue. I think $5,100 for a 6-month study on what's possible and what can be done is well worth the dollars spent to be able to see what this company can come up with and see if we can't get to a point where maybe, for once, in my 40-plus years, there would be something come back to the municipalities for all the service we provide during these big destination weekends.
Mr. Patterson.
I'll just toss out a question or two. I think question number 1 is, how is this different than, say, when VCED came in and talked to us about revenue opportunities?
Well, I believe this is a consulting firm that does this work, knows the data around some of the information they'll be attempting to collect. This is based on the proposals all being funded based on the number of liquor licenses in each municipality. We do know that alcohol-related activities that occur during these big events do drive a lot of the costs. And I think this is more of a specific targeted approach to finding a ways of coming up with additional revenue, and is much more specific with people who know the business, more so than what DCED has been able to provide on a more general basis. Again, if Mr. Negra wants to make any comments, he's certainly free to raise his hand or unmute, but that's my perspective. I think they have the experience around this area to be able to do work for us that could come up with some strategies that might find us new revenue sources that I think is more specific than what DCED has done.
Yeah. And I think my second question is can we cut 80% of the scope out and just go to the final deliverable, which is what's the legislative proposal? 'Cause, like, I think, I've heard that there's been some, through the years, some policies, some legislations come through, and it hasn't come through, except for in Philly and Pittsburgh. So, like, how does it work for us? Why do we need 6 months to do a thing that other places have done?
Well, and I see Mr. Negra is unmuted. I would just say, the one comment I would want to make is that I do think it's important to make the case of why Center Region, that is very unique compared to any place across the Commonwealth with all of our destinations, particularly with the football and many other destinations. I think making the case is going to be important in order to do the lobbying, but I'll turn it to Mr. Negra.
Well, Mr. King, thank you. And I agree. We have to make the case because there's a variety of different options. There's not a hotel tax in the Center Region. Okay, well, Mr. Patterson, you said that Allegheny County and Philadelphia County have both come up with a pour tax, a drink tax. Those are specific to those two particular regions. We'd find an awful lot of opposition to that. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But what we have to do is first collect the data, very similar to what Mr. Scott was talking about earlier, and say, okay, here's what our costs are, and then and what they're specific to, and from that point on, what are our options to fulfill, I guess, take care of the revenue shortages and where are the problems at? Because, the problems are found in your budgets and State College Borough's budgets and everyone's budgets. And the legislature has not been kind to municipalities for decades. They haven't given them any options at all. And so our team, which includes Joe Scarnati, who was the Senator Pro Tem for 20 years, Will Dando, Megan Crompton. We have a team of about 9 people. I'm local. I've been in State College for 40 years. I used to own Mike's Video, started the State Theater. So I mean, I have the background in terms of knowing what the problems are and how we can try and put all of that together to identify the problems, go out and talk to the to the stakeholders, let them understand what the problems are. And, I'd be working with staff from each and every township to try and find out, where the problems are. Okay, once we get the problems, then and we identify the stakeholders and we get buy-in, and we're not going to get 100% buy-in. There's no way, shape, or form. Then at that point in time, we go to the legislature, because I can guarantee you, if we go down to the legislature without a plan, it's not going to go anywhere. It just won't. Hopefully that answers your question about why we don't just cut to the chase. But I think we have to go there, and this proposal has tried to identify, what these next 6 months would be and what deliverables we're going to provide you. And hopefully it's reasonably priced, given, the 4 townships that would be part of it. Mr. King mentioned about Harris Township. Harris Township didn't really vote no. They didn't vote. Okay. And I think that they took a wait and see attitude. They were the second township to consider it. And theirs, I think it was something like $2,000 for 6 months, but they wanted to take a wait and see attitude. And I think with the other 4 that potentially, we have 3, but if hopefully we get your township to agree, I think Harris might jump back on board. And liquor licenses as a way to identify share is only that. It does not indicate a front and center position on a drink tax or an alcohol tax. I want to make that point clear. It was just the way that we came up with identifying, and actually we didn't even come up with that. It was the townships that came up with that to figure out percentages. Did that answer your question, Mr. Pratt?
It did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the board? Mr. Heller.
Yes, if I may. And Mr. Negro, first I want to go ahead and say, as a personal patron of Mike's videos in the late 90s and early 2000s, thank you for what you did. That's a flashback there for me. So, I do want to ask, if I may, so I guess I'll point this out. I think this might be the first time that Ferguson is paying less than everybody else when we think about COG. And so this is a little unique in that. I was, again, I had a different opinion coming into the conversation than I do now. I do feel 5,100 is reasonable for 6 months to see where it goes. And I would be a proponent of making a motion for that.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the board? Interesting observation on that. Do we have?
Patty had a hand up.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Mr. Patterson. I didn't see it.
Patty.
Miss Stevens, go ahead. I didn't see it.
But sorry, I didn't raise it virtually. I just raised my hand. But the proposal, it sort of said for allowing beyond 6 months, if needed. And just knowing how our state has been operating with the past year, I'm a little concerned about going beyond the 6 months. I guess I'm still sort of unclear. So you're basically going to lobby? Is that what you're doing? Lobby for legislation? I'm confused.
No, in this proposal, it would not include going to Harrisburg and beginning any lobbying. This is a consulting contract, and what we're doing is gathering data, working locally to identify the stakeholders, reach out to the stakeholders, and position ourselves from a feasibility standpoint as to how feasible is it? What is helps cover the cost of the numerous events that the center region has. And there are a lot of strains that are put on a lot of systems in the center region due to tourism. Yet there's no mechanism for those costs to be covered outside of normal property tax or earned income tax. There's not. And so the only way that it can happen is through enabling legislation that comes out of the legislature. We've got to identify what we believe is the best solution to this based upon all the stakeholders that are here. And then, and trust me, we'll have conversations in Harrisburg about our findings and as we gather the data and create our different options, we'll have, back room or off the cuff type conversations, but it won't be visible. Okay, it's not like we're going to go to the newspapers or anything along those lines until we identify and agree to what the best solution for reoccurring income is. And that's what this 6-month period is. And what that does is that by the end of September, we'll have a deliverable to all the parties. Maybe earlier. It depends on how fast it goes. If we can, great. But I think it's a realistic time frame. That takes us into the October-November timeframe. It is an election year. Okay, it's the end of session, and so we're not going to be looking at going into a Harrisburg situation without all that information. So we're going to go into the January-February timeframe, and that will give us time for you, or actually for you all, to absorb what we've done, okay, and hopefully create a game plan for 2027, and say this is what we're going to do. This is how we think it's going to come out. We're not in the business of just doing feasibility studies. We want to win, okay, and so I've been working on this for probably 3 years. I started with Tom Fontaine about 3 years ago. And I used to be on the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, so I know a little bit about the liquor business as well, and what the formidable challenges would be for a drink tax in Center Region, even though so many of our problems are caused by alcohol. The bars are probably the most. They're the best actors in the whole supply chain, to say the least. The problems occur when people either leave the bars or they go into apartments or whatever. But I'm getting off subject. We've got to just determine what the problem is, okay, and what the best solution is, and then gather our forces and go back into Harrisburg with what we believe to be a winning solution that is really geared towards the Center Region, and that's what this proposal is. Does that make sense, Ms. Stevens?
It does. But to Mr. White's point is that, we all know we're heading for this recession, and, planning on things that happened in the past, which I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And so gathering data on past practices, I don't know, I'm nervous about it, but that's just me. I'll wait and hear other comments.
Mr. Patterson?
Yeah, I think I have been lobbying for some other things for a couple of years now, and I got some advice from now a couple of state legislatures that have passed very few things, none of which I've been advocating for. And they said, you got to get certain organizations behind it. And so we are members of PML and the Association for Townships and the National League of Cities. We're members of all of those that do have kind of those other pieces. I don't know that this proposal is going to move the needle, other than maybe provide something to maybe those organizations as other documentation if one of those are willing to share. But I'm having a hard time. It is not a lot of money. I get it. I'm just having a hard time knowing the number of things we've been advocating for and getting zero movement on, to then spend more money on a thing that I don't know that we're going to get any movement on it. So I'm just not excited about this, unfortunately.
I'll
would
defer
just-
to the manager.
Yeah. I would just comment, I think what's different here is, you know, PMLs, they're very helpful in various ways. What this is gonna do is gonna be, we're gonna have this 9-member team, who have a lot of experience, doing this kind of work, and they're gonna look at strictly the center region. They're not, you know, other organizations have to think about the entire Commonwealth and representing everybody and have many different priorities, and you know, this group's going to look at strictly the center region and how are we impacted by being a destination town for many events throughout the year, and so I think, given the cost, this is worth a try. To my knowledge, we've never had this kind of work done for the center region where we could look at and see if we could put together a case with data and evidence that says, look at the impact on public safety and other municipal services and regional services. Look at the impact that all these tourists coming to our community are having on our local communities, thus on our local residents. We've never, to my knowledge, have ever done that. This is going to be specific to the center region and seeing what case could be put together. And then, if the entities agree, having a game plan for going to the state legislature to make a case for specifically the center region, because we are unique in this way compared to many other communities that PML and other organizations have to support.
Anyone else from the board?
I can wait until we get to discussion.
Yeah, we haven't even got to it. But of course, it sounded like we kind of, well, if we wanted to get to a motion, we kind of needed, it sounded like some people needed some more information. So I'm glad we were able to get this off the table. Thank you for answering the questions regarding our membership with PML and National League of Cities. I do see the point. This is going to be a more specific study. I know State College Borough seems like they've been interested in this pour tax for a while, because just having even 10 cents, 25 cents for every alcoholic beverage served in this town would be a nice chunk of change for emergency services and readiness. And as a bit of a side plug, I heard as a native of Jefferson County, I do know Mr. Scarnati had served that area in the state senate for quite some time. So a little bit of a blast of the past for me. If nothing, call on Mr. Keogh.
Just a comment and observation. I think Manager King is spot on with regard to the challenge. He's serving as an interim manager for us, but I think that his observation is very timely. It's my observation in this region that so often each municipality is left to their own resources in order to take on some of their challenges. And I don't feel that any of their staffs, including ours, is in a position as a staff to take this challenge on and come up with a viable solution to help us with our budget deficit. I think very honestly that we need to have a combined effort among the municipalities that are identified. One of those, by the way, and you're all aware of it, I won't say the name out loud, but one of our participating municipalities in this particular effort has had the vision to be ahead of the rest of us with regard to some of this Visitor Bureau economic income proposition. And the rest of us are having to catch up, in part, with the vision of that particular municipality. I think we have to do this together. I don't think that each individual municipality is positioned to take on this kind of a study and/or the resulting effort that it's going to take to, in fact, deal with an answer to the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keough. I guess everyone else in the audience. Christine's the only one that hasn't raised her hand yet.
Well, Bill and I have been colluding for the last 2 years on this basic issue of can you really, accomplish anything as an individual township versus getting together and forming a coalition in terms of housing. This issue, it comes up again and again. Has to be looked at in totality. I'm not much of a numbers guy, but I just wrote down the one thing that happens in town, this Central Pennsylvania Festival of the Arts, and then it seems to me TSU football, sport events like next weekend's Big Ten wrestling, graduation, alumni week, homecoming, new stadium events that never happened before, and now I'm getting the sense that Penn State's going to start using the stadium for other revenuing. And then there's Ag Progress, and I don't know where to put the casino. That's obviously a difficult one. But as far as all of the ones that are strictly university, if we just got a chunk, just a chunk of the parking revenue that Penn State collects for some of those events, it'd probably clean up the issue. So my concern is these guys, Mr. Negra and his band of whatever they are, I'm not sure. I've heard it so many times when you go up against the university, whoa, we can't do that, can't do that. Well then, this is where the money is. This is where 95% of the region's revenuing, aside from, people working and whatnot. And I don't see why hotels would want any change or bars would want any change. They're the stakeholders. I assume these guys are going to try to find. Well, they're right out there. And why would they want to change anything? They've got a gravy train. So I don't know what, researching this is going to prove. So that's what I came up with today. Thanks.
Thank you, Wes. I was going to say, if the board's okay, I can take a motion. Unless there's further questions.
I'll put it out there.
Okay.
Just for discussion. This is Matt, and I move that the Board of Supervisors reviews the proposal and authorizes $5,100 in expenditures to fund the proposed ASP scope of work for 6 months.
And do we have a second? I will second the motion. I'm at least entertaining what you're bringing forward. Discussion from the board on this.
Yes.
Mr. White.
All right, so I do like I will say I like the outline of this project. As somebody working through a capstone for something very, very similar right now, but on a shorter time frame, this is echoing a lot of what I'm studying right now. But all of that to say, this is a center region specific issue, so it starts with defining the problem. And I think Wesley did a fantastic job of defining the problem, which is that our primary economic driver is the university. And we have a highly transient population as a result of it, and we have inefficient land use undermining it, and we're preempted by state, I don't want to say legislation, we're preempted by the uniformity clause and the abilities, there are a lot of things that are kneecapping us. It's very easy to see what the problem is. I don't actually think that this is going to get resolved through an effort like this, not because the work being done isn't good, just because of a lot of the structural factors that Mr. Patterson was getting to, like we keep hitting brick walls. And so, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but we've got a pretty gridlocked legislator. Did we pass 40 bills last year? Out of the how many thousand that came forward? I do not see state enabling legislation as something that is going to make it through, not because you're not going to do great work on this, just because of factors that are beyond our control. So what is within our control, and a lot of that comes down to our land use policies. And I'm gonna beat the drum again. If we can make more efficient use of our land by allowing conversions of single family homes by right in all residential districts and allowing the construction of backyard cottages in all residential districts, or ADUs, or accessory apartments, or whatever you want to call them, they're all the same thing, then we can actually decrease the transience of our tax base, allow the workforce development that we want to see by having that missing middle being established. Because to be honest, I don't think we're going to be able to overcome the issues that the uniformity clause imposes on a lot of municipalities. And on top of that, I'm going to say something, and I don't want Bill to get mad at me. So
he's got his walking stick.
Yeah, he's got his walking. So I'm going to be careful. But there is something unique that the state of Pennsylvania, that we can do here in the state of Pennsylvania, and I haven't heard anybody bring it up, and it's called split rate taxation. Now, farmers are not going to like it. Luckily, we have Act 4, which enables millage freezes for those that enter into cooperative agreements with the municipality. So this wouldn't necessarily affect the agricultural sector if the agricultural sector was willing to enter into these agreements. But what it effectively does is taxes the value of the land separate from the property. So I'll just use a quick example of the issues that this can help prevent, the deforestation that everybody's been talking about. If you're sitting on land paying high, because you generally speaking have the higher millage on the land than you do the structures. So people like us who just own homes and kind of, do work, it is less burdensome. But for the developers that want to sit on land and don't develop the houses that we need, then it starts incentivizing them to build the houses, to increase the tax base that we need, to decrease the undeveloped land. These are the actual specific problem sets that I think are very unique to Ferguson Township. And there's a lot within our tool set, or built, whatever, that we can use. And this is not to say that I don't think that the work being done here would be good. I just think that we haven't explored all of our options yet. And if I've said something wrong, I'm happy to be corrected. So.
Insightful information. Anyone else from the board? Mr. Heller.
My only remarks, I already have shared them. I will just say this. For the record, and Mr. Keogh will certainly not like this, I would like it noted that he was in favor of hiring a consultant. So March 3rd, 2026, let's mark it on the calendars, everybody. Thank you.
Patty, Ms. Stevens and Mr. Patterson have lost it. So there's a motion on the table. If anyone after they've regained their composure has anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Heller. That was great.
Okay, to keep this moving up. So all those in favor of the motion on the table, and actually, do you need a voice vote on this?
Voice vote's fine, we don't need anything else.
This will be a voice vote. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no.
No?
No.
No.
Motion fails. 3-2 with Patterson, Stevens, and White dissenting. Anyone from the board want to propose anything further?
I'm sorry, that was out loud.
Yeah, okay. We only have one more agenda item, so I don't think it would be appropriate to call recess.
No. I just want to thank. I just want to thank Mike. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to apologize. I hope you don't feel like we wasted your time or anything like that. So, but thank you, genuinely. I do love this outline.
Well, thanks, and I think you guys hit the nail on the head about the fact that we have to work together as a region. I mean, I've been here long enough to remember the consolidation vote. That was a long time ago. But what this does to it, I think, again, I was talking to Tom Fontaine for years, and we all agreed it had to be everybody. And Harris Township is an outlier. So I'm not really that concerned about that. And what this does to the proposal, I don't know. Do I think it's a hill to climb? Yeah, I think it's a hill to climb, but one that we're confident that we could deliver results. Your idea, which the first time I've heard it, but would that be part of the potential solution? It could be. I mean, I think what we had proposed was to come into this with an open mind, figure out what the issues are, create possible solutions, regather around those solutions, create the game plan, and then go in. And we're not going in to lose. We're not looking to waste anybody's money, but we are looking to I guess come up with that solution for budgetary problems that each and every township is having. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And whether the split legislature would consider it. We've had some conversations with Paul Tazak. I haven't talked to Kerry Benioff about it yet. Before I go sit around talking, but I appreciate your consideration, your discussion. If I don't know, it can move from April to May or whatever. But if you want to revisit it and you need, I'm down in Florida right now, luckily, but I'll be back on March 29th. And if you want to sit down with me in April, we can. If you want to revisit it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. And we'll figure out what we're going to do with the other 3 townships. But thank you again.
Mr. Heller.
Mike, just a quick question. Did you fly out of State College when you went to Florida?
I'm sorry?
Did you fly out of State College when you went to Florida?
No, well, actually, I did once.
Oh, okay.
And then the Allegiant flight from Harrisburg to Sarasota is a pretty nice flight. I miss Allegiant out of here. I used to go to Punta Gorda, and also into St. Pete. So, but it's kind of hard to beat that direct 2-hour flight. versus a connection from here to State College to Charlotte, Charlotte to. I was interested in knowing. I didn't know that you could fly American out of Altoona directly into Charlotte. I'm going to look into that.
Well, thank you for for allowing me a little space on that question, and Mr. Chair, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Nope. Thanks again.
All right. We'll move on to Center Region Council of Government reports. We'll start on the discussion of the intergovernmental relationship agreement for the Center Region Council of Governments Parks and Recreation Governance Special Committee, and I will recognize the manager.
The Parks and Recreation Governance Special Committee has completed a final review of the enclosed draft intergovernmental relationship agreement, which is made to be entered into by and between the Center Region Parks and Recreation Authority, the Center Region Parks and Recreation Agency, and the Center Region Council of Governments, and the Center Region municipalities. The agreement outlines roles and responsibilities and is intended to formalize a relationship and cooperation among the parties to coordinate and manage parks, recreation, and related services in the Center Region. This draft agreement was also provided to the Township solicitor for feedback. The Board of Supervisors asked to review the intergovernmental relationship agreement included within the agenda packet and provide any comments or feedback to be submitted to the Parks Director by March 18th, 2026 for presentation to the committee at its March 25th, 2026 meeting.
All right, and I will defer to Ms. Stevens, who served on the committee that brought this forward.
Okay, well, I mean, basically what you see before you is the proposal, the agreement between the parties. It's just to clarify roles, responsibilities. I think there had been confusion and considering some of the organizational structure within COG, etc., and just making sure that all parties understood. And in some cases with the agency, the Parks Agency, in fact, they're just actually putting into writing what they are doing already. So I don't know. There's not much to add other than what you see. We've been working on this. We also had been working on some other agreements, like how to accept a regional park. We also came up with that matrix, as you recall, we voted on in general forum. And just trying to clarify roles and communication so that things are running smoothly.
All right, Mr. Heller.
So, Ms. Stevens, a question. Since you are closer to this than I believe any of us are, would you have any issues passing this when it moved in front of COG as is?
As is, no. I think it captures things well. And with the there were some attachments, addendums and things like that, but no.
Okay, thank you. If you're good with it, I have no questions, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. King.
I will say that, as I mentioned in the narrative, it was provided to the solicitor. She has reviewed it, and she doesn't have any concerns as well. She's said it looked fine to her from a legal standpoint. And I would mention, I believe, and maybe Ms. Stevens, she's probably aware of this, that there's another agreement that will be coming, I guess, at a later time. I think it got delayed when COG was down for a little bit. So this is the intergovernmental agreement. There'll also be, I believe it's a maintenance agreement that needs to still work its way through committee. So you will be seeing something for your comments later on from Parks and Rec that'll be separate from this.
All right. Any other questions? Not take a motion?
Yeah.
Mr. Patterson.
Well, I can wait till after motion.
Okay.
Yeah, couple of things. I think sometimes in the their hand finally went up. In legal documents, I got some advice of it's not necessarily what's in here; it's what's not in here. Kind of look for the things not in here. And I think one thing that we've struggled with historically, and this others' experience on me, and that is the authority kind of spending money they don't have. And I commit money that they don't have, or like, I don't know how to put that into words, but I wonder if that's something we could just make sure in what I read about the municipalities is that we're going to provide funding. We're going to fund this. So, I just want, that thing. And I also saw within the municipalities that what's not there is to dictate special privileges for organizations, and College Township, Center County Parks and Rec allowed for a entity to get first priority on fields. And if that's not in here, then it shouldn't be happening anymore. And I just want to make that comment to the group that, hey, now that we've got it all untangled and there's no side deals being made by municipalities, that let's just make sure there are no more side deals that exist. So I think those are the two things that come to mind for me as I read this and looking toward kind of that untangling. Over.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. We appear to be having some buffering issues on our end, so I would defer to staff if we seem to be hanging in there.
There may be a Mars connection as well.
Yeah, it looks like there's also maybe a delay on their end, but we'll continue. Any other questions? If not, I'll take the motion. Mr. King.
This particular item, I don't believe needs a motion. All we're looking for is there any comments that the board wants provided back to Christy Owens of Parks and Rec on the intergovernmental agreement?
I would support. Sorry. All right. I support Omari's comments. Omari, I just want to say that the authority really can't spend any money without going through general forum anyway. I don't know that they're able to do that, but I would support sending back your comments.
And maybe it's more about the way it's done. I guess we get things put into the SIG-Z and then magically they're in the budget, and then they're like, oh, too late. You put it in the SIG-Z, now it's in the budget, which I think Matt's probably fixed that already.
Twice over.
So. Awesome.
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
New here. What's the SIG-Z?
Oh, that's the CIP for COG.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Strategic investments, and yeah.
Some acronyms I still need spelled out, so apologies.
Good thing you mentioned that, because from time to time we get stuck in acronym land, and then people in the audience are like, what the heck are they talking about? So thank you for bringing that forward.
I said CIP for COG, and it's the Capital Improvement Program for COG. The Council of Governments.
I will defer to Mr. King.
So just to confirm, the only we do want Mr. Omari's, Mr. Patterson's comments to be forwarded, and that's the only comments related to this item to forward to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
If no other comments, we'll go to communications to the board. Yes, Mr. White.
I had something pretty specific about a particular zoning issue, section 27-205.2, a misalignment within the accessory uses. I think I can should I probably put that on consent agenda for next meeting, so that way it can actually be discussed and addressed, because it was. I'm happy to explain. If you want me to explain further, or I'm happy to put it on a consent agenda for the next meeting and then discuss that. Because I don't know,
Well, I think at least take it through staff. I guess you could tee it up for the consent agenda, but, depending on what, the particulars, Mr. King may, feel there might be a better
it might be
route.
something that should best be started with planning and zoning, and potentially, depending on what the issue is, whether or not it needs to make its way through staff and any ABCs.
Right. Yeah.
Before it comes directly to the board. So I'd be glad to talk with you offline if that's okay, and we figure out where it needs to go.
happy. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry,
Sorry,
around.
still figuring out communications with the board.
No problem. No.
Yes, Mr. Heller.
I had communications related to a donation request from this evening.
Okay. And I had communications regarding Rock Springs Water Company, as well as quite a few regarding the Pine Hall TTD. Well, that whole area that was clear cut recently. So, Ms. Stevens.
Oh, I didn't have anything.
Other
Than some of the things that were mentioned. Sorry.
All right. Mr. Patterson.
Everything that was said, and I'll add on some communications about I can't remember the street, but apparently there's a mountain, man-made mountain, and there's some concerns about that.
Man-made mountain on a street.
Ernest Drive.
Kiefer. Okay. So staff is aware of that.
Yep.
Omari, did you need any feedback for your public safety?
Yes. We I think the last meeting, maybe 2 meetings ago, public safety talked about committee with COG. I meant to go through that during the COG thing, but there was a discussion, and they mentioned it in general forum, the last general forum, about kind of the Penn State and the having 18 events over the long weekend. There were some concerns from the community just on traffic and parking and just all the things that were that kind of hit at the same time, and they were just soliciting some feedback and not just from supervisors, but staff, for township staff and community. So if anybody had any, I'd be happy to write it down and take it out to the next public safety committee meeting next week.
If I recall right, that was the weekend of the outdoor hockey game, and for us to have over 74,000 people show up for a sporting event on late January, that was a first. I have heard a lot has been said about traffic, but Mr. Patterson, did you hear anything about the cold? It appeared Penn State had a rather solid plan on addressing the cold weather, but I think it was one of the couple of years ago, one of the NFL playoff games. It was so cold they had people hospitalized or with other medical issues weeks after the game because of just how cold it was. But I haven't heard it. Nobody, sounds like everyone managed to survive this cold that we had during that game.
I don't recall anyone mentioning any medical emergencies during the weekend. There was, as I said, traffic and then a little bit of parking concerns. But I think my remarks were it's a good problem to have, when you got tens of thousands of people attending events and patronizing the region. Just got to figure out a way to work together and perhaps make sure it's beneficial to all and that we're all not kind of footing a bill for a single entity.
Makes sense. And yeah, I hadn't heard anything regarding the cold, and again, pretty solid plan. There was indoor facilities. I guess they were even letting people come in and out of the stadium, which doesn't normally happen during a sporting event. So it sounds like everyone took all the necessary precautions and came through, so. Any other questions or feedback for public safety?
Just a thank you to public safety and the folks that had to be out there to keep everybody safe. Really, I
Yes.
think that's an important message. And we see it, and I don't know, I think in many ways we take it for granted how, you know, the level of communications and memos of understanding and effectiveness, all the things that have to happen behind the scenes to make something like that go off safely. So, that's it.
Mr. White.
State Patty's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, just want to bring up, saw Ferguson police out there. My uncle died of a drunk driving accident, and so I appreciate it. I don't know if that was the goal, but it was an increased presence on State Patty's Day, and I think I can put two and two together, and I appreciate that. So, thank you.
I guess I'll just go ahead and toss out the other item I had, which was we have the March 11th PML where there's some legislative kind of agenda, and I think we do. Manager King mentioned that we're going to have some staff attend. I guess I wanted to just make sure we were all aligned as a board on what are those legislative priorities that we had. I guess I'll just throw it out there. I think we have kind of a revenue priority, from the components of what constitutes earned income tax. That is a thing that I've been trying to hunt down for a while now, and it's solely and squarely on the state. The continued increase of the I don't know that it happened yet, but the increase of the local service tax. Does anybody know if that actually passed? Maybe we should keep that on the list.
Hasn't passed yet.
Hasn't passed yet. Okay, so we probably want to keep that on the list. Is there anything else that we want to, as a legislative body here? Should we put this alcohol tax on the list of things that, kind of from a PML perspective, ask them as writ large across the state to advance?
I have something to add, but we'll go to Mr. White.
I'm just curious, do you mean like allowing municipalities of like first, second, third class to charge? Okay, yes, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure I was following. Sorry.
At the end of the day, I think I've been on a mission to try to figure out how we can at least get flexibility to have various revenue sources. And I think that the fact that there's two counties that can do two certain revenue generation things and everybody else can't is ridiculous. And so I think that should be kind of everybody should have the option at the very least.
Mr. Heller.
Yeah, Mr. Patterson, what I might offer is this, maybe the request to have a more comprehensive review of those options statewide.
Mm-hmm.
And why I say that is I think more often than not, elected officials are piecemealed to death. A person approaches them with this, a consulting firm approaches them with that, another group that lobbies for this approaches them with something else. It would be really nice if maybe they just took a step back and created what I would call a working group, something to evaluate the statewide opportunities for municipalities to generate revenue and reevaluate that so they're not getting piecemealed to death over time, and we could actually walk away with having a single point of contact or a way of working with them directly to maybe lobby or have deeper conversations with you and others that are already at the table. So I would offer that as maybe a request or a consideration. I don't know if that's outside of scope, though, for what you're looking for this evening.
I mean, it's certainly a good thing to kind of toss out there as something we'd like to do. As far as March 11th, this is the kind of the region in which we sit. they're all getting together to kind of talk about what are the things that we want to lobby for. So it is that kind of larger group trying to get on the same page about what we want to see, the entity PML want to lobby for across the state and with these various legislators.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. I appreciate that additional perspective. I think the biggest thing, again, whatever it might be, maybe it's the poor, maybe there are other opportunities, but I also don't know what I don't know. And just exploring different things, I don't want others at the state level to think a region like ours has all the answers. So I think we have to learn from others too. So maybe this is a stepping stone to have the larger conversation at the state level or across as to what potential revenue options there might be. But I'd like to see where the conversation goes after that. So I just want to say I thank you for being in the room and having the conversations.
Yeah, and I the other thing I'll toss out is that, you know, the unfunded mandates.
Yes.
On the expense side, you know, kind of what are the ones that we can, you know, lobby for to get rid of? I don't know the answer to that, but I maybe we can toss that on the list there.
Mr. King, did you have something to add?
Just in a more general conversation, this was on my list to make sure I notified the board about this meeting, so I appreciate Mr. Patterson bringing it up. It's March 11th. It's from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., so it's a 2-hour meeting. It's being held in Johnstown, and it's free. There's no registration fee. It's being held at the Frank J. Pasquarella Conference Center in Johnstown. So I say that to see if there's any of the board members who wish to attend this. You could see, if you know now, you could say that, or if you want to look into it and then notify Jenna, she could get you registered for it. Because if one of the board members will be attending, they could be the representative who would go ahead and speak to the items that have just been discussed. It's my understanding that this is one of 6 meetings that are happening during the springtime, and they're taking these ideas from members, not just at this meeting, but at the other 5 meetings, and they're, with all that input, are creating what their kind of legislative priorities will be for 2027. So this is kind of get ideas on the list. They'll be doing that from everybody else at this meeting, and they'll be doing it at other region meetings to help them identify their future legislative priority. So if no elected official is able to attend, we do have staff attending. And if board so desires, they could appoint a staff member to speak for the board that says, here's what we want on the list. And the only other action, which is an official action, is there will be an election of board of officers for the North Central District for PML. So if an elected official is going, they would be the one who would cast the vote for Ferguson Township. If not, we would need to know if you want a delegation of that to a staff person.
Good information to know. Had a couple things, but anyone else had anything?
And this is a list that you may come up with some additional things. We have what we've said tonight. We don't have to have any action on this. We just need to know if an elected official's attending, if the board's okay with that being their representative. If not, do you want a staff person representing?
I'm good either way.
I think I'd like to drive down and attend this.
I know we can't have a quorum. Is it okay if schedule permitting, is it okay if I attend? If not, that's totally fine. I would just for observational purposes.
I think it's informational, so would a quorum be permitted?
There wouldn't be a quorum.
I don't know that a quorum would be prohibited there, but I would want to confirm with the solicitor first. But if there's 3 people that have an interest, before we tell you no, I would check with the solicitor, make sure we're okay.
Because I know we had a quorum at PML,
Right.
but again, it was all informational, so it was permissible.
I believe it would be okay, but I just don't feel comfortable enough to say that absolutely.
Right. Double check. You had anything, Mr. Haller?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
We will, if it's okay, go ahead and register you, Mr. Patterson? Would you like-
Yes.
Yep, okay, and then if you want to get back to Jenna?
Like 2 minutes, yes.
Oh, okay. And if there's anybody else, and we see there's a third person, or I can get you the answer, I'll see Betsy, I'm sorry, the solicitor, on Thursday.
Yeah, check with Betsy, but again, being that I will be out the week thereafter, next week it will be a little bit tight for me to turn things around.
I'd
But
recommend
keep me
you-
posted.
Yep. And if there's any items that you wish to be brought up, I would suggest, if they're not already on the list, to give them to Mr. Patterson.
I know Mr. Patterson had brought up, the challenge with different rules seem to apply in municipalities in Allegheny County and Philadelphia County. One thing I did notice in Allegheny County is sales tax is actually 7% because that locally they can keep the 1% of the 7%. The other thing, and I was going to say, we don't even have to bring this forward. I'm sure a few dozen people bring this forward anyhow outside the township, but the municipal use of radar by the police as the only state that doesn't have that ability, and we're using an antiquated system that, and again, just primarily for the public safety stand piece, I'm not advocating we chase down $28 for every person that speeds, so
Good luck. The first legislation was in 1961. First proposed legislation.
People were so scared of electricity back then, I think, so.
Yeah.
We've come a long way.
But yeah, just the current process has got its challenges, and the chief would like to see something new, as well as any other law enforcement officer. Anything else for the PML meeting?
Nope, thanks for allowing me to bring it up.
Thank you. Mr. Heller.
I would just be, I know sometimes conversations can go down certain paths. I would just be in opposition to any proposal that a city wage tax makes its way outside of like Philadelphia. That is an economic killer, especially as we think about economic development. So I would voice strong opposition to any proposal to have a city wage tax.
That is a good point, and as someone in the HR field, that does become a very tedious task for HR professionals, especially or payroll, people that work in payroll, especially if you are a multi-site employer, you hire remotely, having to figure out all those nuances of different tax rates and other specifics. So thank you for bringing that up. There's nothing else. I just wanted to call attention to the calendar items. Got Arbor Day on the 25th, as well as a Boom Playground project later in August at Autumnwood Park. So if anyone's interested in some volunteer opportunities, check in with the township and keep an eye on our website. Some good experience to take on there. And with nothing else, I will defer to Patty for motion for item number 11. Motion 11.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, good night. Thank you.
5 minutes to spare to